welcome back to Tuesday Talks with Mote Marine Laboratory and Aquarium. My name is Haley, and I am the event coordinator down here at our International Center for Coral Reef Research and Restoration, located in the Florida Keys. Today, we are interviewing Alicia Manfroy. She is one of our coral restoration technicians. She works in our land-based nursery. You saw the video on Thursday. You saw her showcasing our microfragmentation technique. So today we are just going to be asking her a couple more questions and diving a little bit deeper into what life looks like for her on a day-to-day basis. So stay tuned.
Hi everyone, my name is Alicia Manfroy. I am the land-based nursery coral restoration technician here at the Mote Marine Lab in the Florida Keys.
Awesome. So how did you get into this field?
So I grew up in California, but I spent a lot of my childhood visiting the Keys. I snorkeled at Lou Key almost every summer. And when I was about 12, I saw a dead reef that had gone through an algal phase shift. And that was a big moment for me and inspired me to look into ways that I could help coral restoration. And when I was done with college, I came to Mote to intern and then eventually got the job as the lab technician.
That's awesome. What does a normal day look like for you?
So a normal day starts with removing our shades. We have shades that go over our tanks in order to prevent too much sunlight from getting in. So around 7:30, we remove those. Then I go through and assess the health of the coral that are in the tanks that I am in charge of. After that, we go through and check the cleanliness of each tank. We have these little snails that go through and eat our algae, which is great, but also they create a little bit of a mess. So we go through and either siphon out the tank or transfer the coral to a new tank in order to clean the tank that they were already in. That's most of my mornings, most of the time. And then in the afternoons, I do microfragmentation.
Awesome. That's so cool. So you mentioned you were in charge of certain raceways. How many raceways are you in charge of?
So right now, about 25. It kind of just depends on if we have interns, how many interns we have, who is outplanting of the staff, and other things like that. So about 25.
And how many corals can be held in a raceway at a time?
So it depends on the species. For the Aquapora palmata or elkhorn, we can fit about 800 in a tank. That's because they create this compound that if there's too many in a tank, the compound ends up hurting the corals. For the other species that we have here on site, we can fit anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 in the tank.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So what type of species or how many species do we have on site for land-based nursery restoration?
So we have quite a few different species in our display tanks. However, for restoration, we're focused on 5 species in the land-based nursery. The first is a branching coral, so that is the elkhorn coral. They're really cool. They provide a lot of structure and places for other species to hide out on the reef. They tend to be in areas with a lot of wave action as well. We also have some star corals, which we have Orbicella favellata, which is mountainous star coral. These guys are endangered. We also have Montanastria cavernosa, which is a giant star coral. The polyps get to be about the size of your thumb, which is really cool, and they can get up to 5 feet in diameter. We also have some brain coral here on site. So we have Pseudodiploria clivosa, also known as the knobby brain coral. These guys do really well in shallow water versus the other brain coral that we have here on site is Pseudodiploria strigosa, the symmetrical brain coral, and those guys do better at depth.
Huh. Do we know why that is?
I think it's the amount of light that they get.
Okay.
That's also how we see them out like in the wild anyways. When they've done research on it, they've found that's where they grow best. But also when we outplant, we've seen the clivosa do best in shallow water and the strigosa do best in the deeper water. But when we switch them, they don't do as well. So that's something that other research has seen, but also our research has seen as well.
Yeah, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
So let's talk microfragmentation. Let's just give a little definition for anyone watching that doesn't know what it is.
Yeah, so microfragmentation is where we take a coral that's about the size of a silver dollar and cut it into about the size of a single Lego. by cutting it, we're able to accelerate its growth. It's like when you get a cut on your skin and your skin grows back faster. Basically, when we microfragmentate the coral, that's what we're having it do. We have research that says that it grows about 40% faster when we do this microfragmentation process. We also are in the middle of a study that's going to give us more comprehensive numbers based off of past research and also what we've been finding in the lab.
That's great. And why exactly would we want accelerated growth?
Corals tend to grow really slow in the wild, and we want accelerated growth so that we're able to restore more tissue out onto the reefs, and also so that the tissue ends up becoming spawning size a lot faster. Spawning size is about the size of a dinner plate, and we can see with the microfragmentation process and with the way that we outplant, so we'll put arrays of like 5 to 20 together, depending on the species. And it takes about 2 to 4 years for our arrays to fuse together and be the size of a dinner plate, which means they would be able to spawn.
So when you microfrag, you say you cut it into small pieces and then you glue it to a plug, right?
Yeah, so we glue them to ceramic or cement plugs. We've noticed that they grow best on ceramic, so that's what we are practicing moving forward. And then we use marine super glue in order to glue the microfrags onto the ceramic plugs that they will grow on.
Oh, that's awesome. Do we know why ceramic works better? Is it just the surface composition?
So we think it's the surface. We also think that it's the different compounds that get released. So when we have the cement plugs, sometimes it gets different compounds in the water, and that can mess with coral growth. What we've noticed on the cement plugs as well is that the coral will kind of grow up and not out and flat onto the plug. So we think that they don't like the substrate as much. It also is a bit more algae. So something that we've learned over the years is the ceramic is the way to go.
How long does it take for a microfragmented piece of coral to grow over a plug?
So it depends on the species. With branching coral, it takes about 6 to 7 months. With some of our boulders, it can take up to 14 months to be about the size of a silver dollar. At that point, we're able to outplant them. We put them in arrays, so groups with the same genotype. So eventually they fuse together. With this method of outplanting them when they're about the size of a silver dollar and then planting them in arrays, it takes about 2 to 4 years for our arrays to reach dinner plate size, and that's the size at which they can spawn.
That's awesome. Do y'all put the same quote unquote, I guess, family together when you outplant in an array?
Yeah, so we try to keep them with the different ones that are very similar to them. So same family, you could say. Also like planting them with their brothers and sisters. That's another way you could put it. But basically just so that they have the same genotype.
So can you walk us through what it's like outplanting these corals that you're taking care of in the land-based nursery?
Yeah, definitely. So we know that it's time to outplant them when they get to be about the size of a silver dollar. We put them in groups with the same genotypes. So basically they're with their families when we outplant them. The number that we outplant together is anywhere between 5 and 20. And then those ones will eventually fuse together, which is why it's really important that we put the same individuals of the same genotype together. That way that they fuse and then they don't fight. We're looking for them to fuse together and to be about the size of a dinner plate. That can take anywhere from 2 to 4 years. The reason why it's important for them to be about the size of a dinner plate is because that's when they're able to spawn.
Okay. Yeah, and the reef isn't doing so well, so we want to grow more coral faster to a spawning size so they can reproduce naturally to replenish the reef. Got it. Awesome. That's great. So how many corals do we have in our land-based nursery right now? Do you know?
So right now on site, we have about 25,000 coral.
Wow, that's still a lot. And you mentioned snails. So what species of snails do y'all put into the tanks to eat the algae?
So most people call them turbo snails.
Okay.
They are kind of triangular. I can grab one if you want me to like hold one up.
No, that's all right.
Okay. The turbo snails, they're really good at getting the type of algae that we have in our tanks. They're also really good at climbing. So they not only are able to eat the algae that's growing around the coral themselves, but they're also able to get the sides of the tank, which is really important.
Oh yeah, that is super important. I didn't even think about that. It's awesome. Okay, guys, that's it for today. Thanks, Alicia, for joining us. It was great having you today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I hope you have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.
All right, we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, guys, that's it for today. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did and you'd like to see more coral content like this, you can join our social channels. We are at Protect Our Reefs on Facebook and Instagram. And if you would like to see more education content, you can join our Google Classroom. If you are a Florida resident and you would like to support our Coral Reef Research Lab in the Florida Keys, you can purchase a Protect Our Reefs specialty license plate, and all the money comes back to us, and we use that for our coral reef research and restoration projects, and then we also use that money into a grant program. So yeah, I think that's it. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay inside, and we'll see you next week. Bye, guys.